What are you afraid of? And what are you afraid of? And what are your children afraid of? My name is Sharita Morgan. I'm the Behavior and Learning Strategist coming at you from the Morgan Unlimited Growth Institute, where you can find solutions for your child's behavior and learning challenges. And I'm a math and literacy tutor and coach and parent coach. Listen, we got to talk about these fears. I want to tell you first a story, okay, of one of my biggest fears that I had and how I overcame them, okay? I was so afraid to walk outside on the sidewalk. If I had to walk on the sidewalk, I would immediately go into a panic. My whole body, it felt like needles on my whole body. And I would get really hot, and I would get short of breath, and I would feel like my skin was on fire, and I had to go back in the house. This kept me in the house for months at a time. It's very difficult. The whole summer in the house, okay? And then when it was time for my daughter to go to school, and she was old enough to walk home, but I would walk part of the way, like halfway, and look and watch for her little head. She was 10 years old by then, to walk the first block or two, and then I would go get her. It was difficult for me to even walk up to the school. It was very difficult, okay? Many adults live with fears every day, and also your kids are living with fears every day. Ask yourself, what are you afraid of? What's holding you back? It might be a fear like mine, or it might be fear of just going after what you are trying to accomplish, something that you want to accomplish, but every time you want to move forward, all these doubts come and fears of not being successful. What if it doesn't work out? And what you have to go through to actually accomplish your goal. It might be too much. You might be afraid, and then you stay in the same place. Now, our kids go through the same thing. You don't really think about that, but they do. I've seen it for years. As a mental health specialist, a special education teacher, and then a homeschool mom, and now a tutor and coach, I've worked with kids and parents for over 20 years. And I see in our children's faces the panic and fear when they have to read aloud, or when they have to write by themselves without any help. How afraid they are of making a mistake. So when they are completing a test, right, they are afraid to pick an answer. They want to talk to me first. But I teach them, another way. But they want to talk to me first. They want to make sure that their answer makes sense, or if it's the correct answer, they want to double check. They have so much doubt. But I've seen kids just completely start to act out, get out of their seat, drop their pencil, pick a fight, an argument. I've even seen when I was a special education teacher on test day. So I was teaching special education, and when it's time for the test, students would get really upset and throw a tantrum, kick over the desk, have to be carried out of the room by security. You understand what I'm saying? So these fear is a real thing for our kids. And now we want to talk today about how we are not equipping ourselves or our kids to be able to deal with fears, and to not let them get so big that they become crippling and we all cannot move forward. Okay? But we're going to start with ourselves, because if we are not healthy ourselves, and if we don't have some kind of plan to move forward anyway when we are having our own doubts or our own fears, right? Then how are we going to be able to instill that in our children? Our children, they watch us. You understand? They watch us, right? Your child watches you, so they understand. They don't understand what you're going through, but they see it and they learn it. If you're afraid of something, then they're going to be afraid of something. You understand what I'm trying to say? Okay, so let's get back to me. How old was I? Early 30s. Early 30s. And I would stay in the house all day when my daughter was in school, dreading the moment when I would have to leave the house and go pick her up from school. And if I didn't have to pick her up from school, I wouldn't have went nowhere. I'm telling y'all right now, I would have stayed in the house. But I spent all day, and the panic would get worse and worse. The closer it got to the time when I was supposed to pick her up from school, the more panicked I felt, the more uncomfortable I felt. I was afraid to walk outside on the sidewalk. And this went on for a while. Until I decided one day that I didn't want to live like that anymore. And I was going to force myself to go for a walk. Not because I had to, not because I had to pick my daughter up, but for me to overcome this fear. So I got ready, put my sneakers on, and I walked outside and opened that door. And the sun was really bright that day. It was already feeling uncomfortable because when you spend time in a house for months at a time, you only go out for a few minutes because you have to, then it's really dark. You really go into a deep depression, right? Or deeper into depression. So it was really sunny out, and I started walking. And I didn't even feel like I was attached to my body. I was forcing myself to walk, but I didn't feel connected to myself. And then all of a sudden, all those feelings came. I started panicking. I started feeling hot, short of breath. My legs and my arms, especially my legs, oh my gosh, they were on fire. And I just kept saying, go ahead, Sharita, just keep going, keep going, keep going. And the first day, I made it to the end of the street, y'all. But to me, that was a big accomplishment. And I told myself, that's okay. Tomorrow, I'm going to do it again. And every day, I'm going to come out and I'm going to walk and see how far I can get. And see, this is what we kind of skip or don't understand. When you're overcoming a fear, and when you're trying to accomplish something, and you're afraid of accomplishing it, or you're afraid of the process it's going to take to get there, you definitely are going to get there, but you shouldn't push yourself too hard in the beginning. And that's where we make the mistake, okay? You got to start with a little bit, but be consistent. A little bit every day, but just be consistent, because we have to build up that muscle and then totally change how your mind interprets the situation. Okay? So I got back in the house. Woo! When I got back in the house, all the feelings started to go away. I was like, woo! Of course I didn't want to go out the next day, but I did it again. And the next day I was able to walk further. And this time I walked further, and it was a busy street. So it was a lot of cars going back and forth and honking and everything like that. So all that stimulation, it made it worse. It was very uncomfortable, right? And very sunny out. And then I walked back. I made it back to the house. The next day, I went out, was able to turn a corner on that busy street and keep going. And then I made it like 2 blocks on that street. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going back in the house. It's uncomfortable, right? In my mind, I'm telling myself, just make it to the end of this block. Not even realizing that all of the feelings that I was having, the anxiety that I was having, was starting to lessen. I didn't realize it at the time. I just was focused on, this is terrible, it feels terrible, but I'm going to get to the end of that block. I'm going to keep going, no matter what. But I didn't realize that. I was thinking about, well, you don't feel as bad as you did before. It's getting better. I didn't realize it at that time. So that day I went for 2 blocks. The next day I came out and I started walking. But then I noticed, by the 4th day, I noticed that I wasn't hot. That I didn't feel like, my skin was crawling. I didn't feel like my skin was on fire or needles. I didn't feel like, and my head would hurt too. I used to get bad migraines. I wasn't feeling like that. My breathing was fine. It's better. Okay, let me see. I'm going to go past 2 blocks today. Let me see how I feel. I went past 2 blocks. Everything was okay. Then I said, let me go into this farmer's market. It was a store that I used to go in. And I used to like, shopping. I used to like shopping at that store. So I said, let me go into that store. And then I went into that store, and I felt so good when I saw all the vegetables and fruit and everything I used to like. I felt so good, and it felt like such a triumph. And I went in there, and nobody knew in the store that I just accomplished some huge feat, okay? And nobody knew how big that was. But it was huge. I probably just looked like another shopper going in there and buying some food, But to me, that was a life-changing moment. And it took a lot for me to get there. Okay? Now think of that. And then after that, I didn't have the fear anymore. Now let's think about that when it comes to us adults. When we are going to accomplish something, like maybe you want to accomplish something, you have a goal, you have a dream, but you're worried about the kids, your husband, your current job, the guilt that you would feel by focusing on something that you need, and you're worried about all of that, and then the worry gets to be so much it turns into a fear, and now you are not moving forward, and you then get to justify not moving forward. You sit down, you have all these reasons that make it okay, but really that just created a comfort zone for you, so that with justification, so that you can sit there in that comfort zone and tell yourself it's what's best. It's what's best. But there's a part of you that's screaming because you know that you've given up on yourself, or you've postponed yourself even more. You'll never be really fulfilled unless you move forward. Okay? And then when it comes to our kids, with reading, when I first started teaching kids how to read, who didn't have to read aloud, or they would act out, cry, fall apart, leave the room, and do all these things when it was time to read. I put the structure in place so they can't do any of those things. I set it up so they can't do any of those things. So they have to be face to face with the word. And it's very uncomfortable for them. But I do not let go. I grip them and I do not let go until they realize they're not going anywhere and they have to look at the word. And they're so afraid of getting it wrong, and they're so afraid of the process of trying to sound out the word and what it might feel like, that they're ready to run. And I understand that, right? So I've created strategies, reading strategies, to help them get past that and help them focus and help them break down the word and then read it and read a sentence, and so that they can get that success, that mini success, right away. But that process is the same process that I went through. It's a little different, but it's the same thing in your mind. You're trying to avoid this at all costs, and the more you avoid it, the bigger it gets. The more and the longer you avoid it, the bigger it gets. The more impossible it seems. The more painful it becomes. Okay? Till it becomes terrifying. All right? That's what happens. And then you get to a comfort zone, and our kids do this too, where they don't have to move. They don't have to look at the word. They don't have to read. Okay? They don't have to write. They don't have to do any of these things. Now, here's the crime, y'all. Okay? We have created environments where we're helping our kids stay stuck. All of the help, all of the technology, all of the assistance and resources and accommodations that we provide for them, it only helps them stay stuck in their current state, where they have gotten to a point where this is my comfort zone. At first, they wanted to learn how to read. They wanted to be able to, all kids, they want to be able to read that word. You know what I mean? Spell that word and get it corrected. Yay! They want to get to that point. But after a while, after failure, after failure, after failure, after failure, after failure, they have given up. Then they find their comfort zone. Then they justify, this is what I need to do. I need help. Can you spell this for me? How do you spell this word? Can I just write one sentence? Can I just, the way they approach it, everything they do, everything they ask you is designed to help them stay in that one spot. It's comfortable for them. It's uncomfortable and comfortable at the same time, because no kid likes not being able to read. Not one child likes that or feels good about it. But this is temporary comfort so that they don't have to face this big monster, right? The fear of failure. Okay? So again, we have a society now where there's help for everything. And help really means making it easier. And so much outside help, so many adjustments, right? We do the same thing as adults with our own goals, okay? So many adjustments. For me, for someone who was afraid to go out, yeah, my husband, he went and did all the food shopping. He went and took care of things. He did, and he drove everywhere. I wasn't driving anywhere, So you design your life so that you don't have to face your fear. But you must. If you want to get to this level, you have to get past this. And we all have to get good at facing our fears and getting past them and accomplishing, conquering, mastering whatever we want to do. We all have to get good at that. Okay? So now it's time to rip the Band-Aid off. The first thing you want to do, and that I advise you to do, parents, is write down, just ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What do I want to do, but I'm stopping myself from doing? What have I been wanting to do for a long time that I put on the back burner? And then you have to write them down. And they'll say, I would do this, but just write them down. Whatever, you have to take off that blanket, right? That safety blanket. You got to take that mess off. Whatever you've been wanting to do and whatever you need to do for yourself that you have convinced yourself that you shouldn't do, and you have all these reasons. They're all fake reasons. They're not real. They're all fake. You just justified being stuck in one spot. And let your child see you conquering your fears. Okay? I think about when I was younger, and I wrote down all the things that I was afraid of, and I started doing them one by one, and my younger daughter was watching me. And one of them was, and then this sounds like a goal, but it's also a fear. It was to exercise every day, right? So I put that on my list, and then I was pushing myself to exercise every day, right? And it's a fear because it's like, what if I don't lose weight? What if I don't stay consistent? What if it doesn't work out? You understand? What if I don't end up reaching my goal? Do you understand? All of these things, the what ifs, they turn into fears when you let them play over and over, and they become so strong, they turn into fears. So my daughter was watching me. All these the lists I had, she saw me every day looking at my list, and then like attempting everything on the list that I was doing, that I could do right now. Because some goals were bigger, some fears were bigger. So she decided that she was going to exercise with me. And every day we put on music, we started dancing together, exercising. And then I was all into it. Oh, by the way, I'll tell you this after this, the feeling I was having. I was all into it, and then I turned to my right, and my little exercise buddy wasn't there anymore. I look around, she's like 3 years old. I look, she's sitting on the couch with her legs crossed, eating a piece of bread. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait, hold up, wait a minute. I thought you was in this with me. What you doing? Where'd you get bread from? One thing about my kids, they will find some bread, okay? My kids love bread, okay? But even then, getting up to exercise, my chest, I would feel all this anxiety. It felt like butterflies in my chest. You understand what I'm saying? So, with the kids, uh, when they are afraid to read, then they need to read every day. They don't have to read a whole paragraph. They don't even have to read a whole chapter. If they're a struggling reader and they're afraid to read, they need to sit down every day with the book or with the notebook and pencil, with the sentence that they're working on every day and do it. And start small, right? And that goes for us for our goals too. Start small so that you can get those mini successes. When you get those mini successes and you combine that with consistency, then what ends up happening is that those you build up your muscle, no matter what it is. You build up the muscle, you get better and better at it, and then also you get more mini successes, and then they turn into a big success. Okay? So when it comes to us adults, after we write down what we're afraid of, what we want to accomplish, and then what's holding us back, we will figure out our fears. What do we want to accomplish and what's holding us back? Why haven't we started? Okay? You got to strip all that stuff off. And then get started today. Right now. Even if it's something small, like walking half a block. When you're afraid to walk on the sidewalk and your whole body fights you. And you want to run back in the house. But you made it half a block today. And then the next day, you almost made it to a whole block. And then the next day, you made it to turn around corner. The next day, you made it around the corner and the block. Next day, around the corner and 2 blocks. And then you're training your brain. You're creating a different story than you've been having all this time. Where you've been telling yourself, this is hard, I can't do it. This is painful. Right? Every time you do it, and this goes for our kids too, every time you do it, it becomes more and more normal. It becomes more and more possible. It becomes more and more doable every single time you do it. So that's why my students always read aloud. Because and then they all want to read aloud, right? But this is why there are no accommodations in my program. I know y'all have a problem, right? There are no accommodations. There's only goals and overcoming what's holding us back. That's all we do in my tutoring coaching program. Okay? That's all we do. It doesn't matter if my students have IEPs at school or if they have ADHD. We're all focused on the same. We have our individual journeys, but we're focused on the same thing. There are no accommodations. There's nothing to make this easier for us. There's only figuring out how to move from this step to the next step. And I mean fast. Conquer it. And then what else can we do? What's the next level? What is the next level? What's the next? Because you've now opened up the door of possibilities. Do that for a child. It's like, they stop fearing. They stop feeling they stop feeling afraid, okay, to even do it in the first place because they're afraid they're going to get it wrong. No, not yet. Keep going. I don't know the answer. Say yet. I don't know the answer yet. Keep going. What else? What do you think it is? What else do you think it might be? Oh, you're getting close. Oh, that's almost perfect. What else? What's the last letter? What do you think it could be? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Keep going. Little by little, step by step, overcome your fears. But it has to be every day. If you sit a child down to read on Tuesday, and then 2 weeks from Tuesday, they do it again, they're going to feel the same intensity, the same fear, at the same level than they did 2 weeks ago. But if you have that child read every day and have them progress in their reading every day and move forward just a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more every single day until 2 weeks later, you will have a total different outcome. And your child reading will become normal to your child, and they will no longer fear reading. But we have to do many steps, and then we have to get those many successes every single time we do it, and celebrate. Okay? All right, y'all. I have a student that I have to see in 9 minutes. So let me go get ready. I just got out the gym. Let me go get ready for my student. Thank you all for your time. I will see you again soon. Okay? For information on my tutoring and coaching program for students ages 4 to 12, comment below, tutoring and coaching program. For my parent coaching program that I'm starting soon, comment below, parent coaching. And if you have any other questions, please let me know. Okay? Believe in yourself, believe in your child, honey. Always remember that growth is unlimited, and we got this. We're going to the top, y'all. Peace.